Hello and welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. The Isle of Wight's Eldritch Elixir. Chapter 1: The Brew. Holly had always been drawn to the old stories about her homeland, the Isle of Wight. Legends spoke of ancient druids and alchemists who once roamed the island, their mystical practices shrouded in secrecy and whispers. As a young woman with a penchant for the arcane, she found herself captivated by one particular legend, the tale of an elixir that promised eternal life. One rainy afternoon, while perusing the dusty shelves of an antiquarian bookshop in Newport, Holly stumbled upon a withered tome bound in cracked leather. The title, inscribed in faded gold lettering, read The Alchemist's Grimoire. Her heart raced as she carefully turned the pages, each one filled with intricate diagrams and cryptic formulas. At last she found it, a recipe for the elixir of eternity. It took weeks of preparation. Holly sourced rare ingredients from the far corners of the island, from ancient oak bark to moonlit dewdrops. The final component was the most elusive, a fragment of an old stone tablet, rumored to have been blessed by the island's earliest alchemists. Holly unearthed it from a forgotten cave near the Needles, a jagged stack of chalk rocks at the island's western point. On the night of the new moon, Holly began the brewing process. In the dim light of her candlelit kitchen, she mixed the ingredients, chanting the incantations inscribed in the grimoire. The potion shimmered with an otherworldly glow, casting eerie shadows on the walls. With a deep breath, she poured the elixir into a silver chalice and raised it to her lips. Chapter 2: The Awakening. The moment the elixir touched her tongue, Holly felt a surge of energy course through her veins. Her vision blurred, and the world around her seemed to warp and twist. She collapsed to the floor, the chalice slipping from her grasp and shattering into pieces. Darkness consumed her. When she awoke, it was dawn. She felt different, stronger, more aware. The air around her crackled with an unnatural energy. As she stepped outside, she noticed the sky had taken on a peculiar hue, a sickly green that seemed to pulsate and writhe. Panic set in when she heard the first scream. Rushing to the village square, Holly saw her neighbors fleeing in terror. Strange, grotesque creatures had emerged from the shadows, their forms a nightmarish fusion of tentacles, eyes, and gaping maws. Holly's blood ran cold as she realized what she had done. The elixir had not granted eternal life, but had instead opened a gateway to a realm of eldritch abominations. Chapter 3: The Rift. The island descended into chaos. The creatures multiplied, spreading across the Isle of Wight like a plague. Holly knew she had to act quickly. She returned to her home, desperately flipping through the grimoire in search of a way to close the rift. The solution lay in a counter potion, but it required a rare ingredient, the blood of the first creature, to emerge from the rift. Armed with a knife and a hastily concocted trap, Holly ventured into the heart of the chaos. The once peaceful fields and forests were now twisted and corrupted, filled with the wails of the tormented and the roars of the eldritch beasts. She tracked the creatures to a ruined chapel, its stained glass windows shadowed and walls covered in an unholy slime. Inside, the air was thick with the stench of decay. Holly's heart pounded as she spotted the first creature, a towering monstrosity with writhing tentacles and eyes that gleamed with malevolent intelligence. Summoning her courage, she sprang the trap, ensnaring the beast. It thrashed and howled, its cries echoing through the chapel as she drove the knife into its heart, collecting its dark, viscous blood. Chapter 4: The Closing. With the blood in hand, Holly raced back to her home. She mixed the counter potion, her hands trembling with urgency. The sky outside grew darker, the eldritch creatures closing in. As she completed the final incantation, a blinding light filled the room. The potion glowed with a fierce, golden radiance. Holly drank the counter potion, feeling its warmth spread through her body. She chanted the final words, and a powerful force surged through her. The ground shook, and a deafening roar filled the air. The creatures screeched in agony as they were pulled back into the rift, their forms dissolving into mist. The rift began to close, its edges sealing with a burst of energy. The sky cleared, the sickly green hue fading to a serene blue. Holly collapsed, exhausted but relieved. The nightmare was over. Chapter 5: The Aftermath. In the days that followed, the Isle of Wight slowly returned to normal. The villagers, though shaken, began to rebuild their lives. Holly, however, was forever changed. She knew the dangers of meddling with forces beyond mortal comprehension, and she vowed to protect the island from any future threats. The grimoire, now tainted by the horrors it had unleashed, was buried deep within the island's ancient forest, its secrets hidden from prying eyes. Holly became the island's guardian, a silent protector against the darkness that lurked beyond the veil. But sometimes, on quiet nights, when the wind whispered through the trees and the moon cast an eerie glow on the land, Holly could still hear the faint echoes of the eldritch creatures, a haunting reminder of the night she opened the gateway and glimpsed the abyss. And so, the legend of the Isle of Wight's Eldritch Elixir passed into history, a cautionary tale of ambition and hubris, of ancient magic and the thin veil that separates our world from the unimaginable horrors beyond. Chapter 6: The Whispering Forest. Years passed, and Holly's hair turned silver, though her spirit remained vigilant. The villagers spoke of her in hushed tones, referring to her as the guardian of the isle. Despite her efforts to keep the island safe, Holly felt an ever-present unease, a sense that the eldritch entities were not entirely gone. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and shadows lengthened, a chill ran through Holly's spine. She felt a familiar, sinister energy in the air. Determined to investigate, she grabbed her staff and made her way toward the ancient forest where the grimoire was buried. The forest was a place of deep magic, its trees gnarled and ancient. The wind whispered through the leaves, carrying voices that only Holly could hear. She followed the faint trail of energy, her path illuminated by the soft glow of her staff. As she reached the burial site, she saw that the ground had been disturbed. The grimoire was missing. Chapter 7: The Return. Panic gripped Holly's heart. She scanned the forest, her keen eyes searching for any sign of the book or the intruder who had taken it. A rustling in the bushes caught her attention. She turned just in time to see a figure clad in dark robes disappearing into the shadows. Holly pursued the figure, her steps quick and silent. The chase led her to an old, abandoned mansion on the outskirts of the forest, a place long rumored to be haunted. She pushed open the heavy, creaking doors and stepped inside. The air was thick with dust and decay. In the mansion's grand hall, she found the intruder, a young man, no older than 20, with wild eyes and an expression of fevered determination. The grimoire lay open on a pedestal before him. He was chanting, his voice growing louder with each word. "Stop!" Holly commanded, her voice echoing through the hall. The young man looked up, startled. "Who are you?" he demanded. "I'm the guardian of this island. You have no idea what you are tampering with. That book contains dark magic that must never be unleashed." The young man sneered. "I seek the power of eternal life, the same power you sought." Holly's heart sank. "You don't understand. That power comes at a terrible cost." Before she could reach him, the young man completed the incantation. The ground trembled, and the air crackled with dark energy. A rift began to form, just as it had years before. Eldritch creatures started to seep through, their grotesque forms filling the hall. Chapter 8: The Final Stand. Holly knew she had to act quickly. She raised her staff, calling upon the ancient magic of the island. The staff glowed brightly, and a barrier of light formed around her. She began to chant, her voice merging with the primal energy of the island. The young man, realizing his mistake, tried to flee, but the creatures had already set their sights on him. Holly focused her energy, creating a vortex that began to pull the creatures back into the rift. The young man screamed as he was dragged toward the abyss. "Help me," he cried. Holly hesitated for a moment, but then steeled herself. She extended a hand, casting a spell to pull him back. With great effort she managed to save him from the brink. The rift, however, continued to widen. "Close the book!" Holly shouted. The young man scrambled to the grimoire and slammed it shut. The rift shuddered and began to close, the creatures screeching as they were pulled back into their realm. The mansion quaked and debris fell from the ceiling. Holly poured all her energy into sealing the rift, the strain nearly overwhelming her. With a final burst of light, the rift closed, and silence fell over the mansion. Holly collapsed to her knees, exhausted but triumphant. The young man, shaken and repentant, approached her. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I didn't know. Holly looked at him, her eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and understanding. Curiosity can be dangerous. We must respect the boundaries of our world in the next. Chapter 9. A New Guardian. In the aftermath, Holly took the young man under her wing. She taught him the ways of the island's ancient magic, hoping to instill in him the wisdom and responsibility that came with such knowledge. Together, they reburied the grimoire in a place even more secret and protected by powerful wards. Holly knew at time as the Guardian was coming to an end. The island needed a new protector, someone who understood the delicate balance between curiosity and caution. She saw potential in the young man whose name was Thomas. Years later, as Holly lay on her deathbed, she passed the mantle of guardian to Thomas. She felt a deep peace, knowing the island was in capable hands. As she closed her eyes for the final time, she whispered a blessing to the spirits of the Isle of Wight, asking them to guide and protect her successor. Chapter 10. Legacy. Thomas proved to be a diligent and wise guardian. He learned from Holly's teachings and his own mistakes, ensuring the island remained safe from Eldritch threats. The villagers came to respect him as they had Holly, seeing in him the same dedication and strength. The legend of the Isle of Wight's Eldritch Elixir continued to be told, a tale of warning and wonder. Thomas added his own chapters to the story, documenting the ongoing vigilance required to keep the darkness at bay. The grimoire remained hidden, its dark secrets guarded by layers of enchantments and the unyielding will of the island's protector. And so the cycle continued. The Isle of Wight, with its rich history and deep magic, stood as a testament to the delicate balance between the known and the unknown, the mortal and the eldritch. The legacy of the Guardians endured, a beacon of light in a world where darkness always lurked at the edges, waiting for a chance to return. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had a great day.